here, guys. It's been a long time. What can I say? So I know in my last few videos I kind of apologised for not being around because I wasn't very well, sort of in January time, and then I had an operation. Don't worry guys, it was nothing serious. It was actually on my wrist, as you can see, but it was my first ever operation and scary. I'm someone that doesn't even like needles, guys, so for me this was a big deal. And obviously because it was on my wrist, it meant that like after I had it done I actually couldn't move my wrist for ages and it was really painful. So that was great, but we are getting there. We're getting back to normality, back to reading, back to all the good stuff. So welcome back to my channel, guys. If you're new here, my name is Emily and I am your #1 romance girly. It's been too long, guys. I missed you. What have you been up to? Let me know. What books have you been reading that has been crazy good? Because I'm out of the loop now, guys. You need to keep me up to date, you know? I read 17 books this month of March. Can we believe it's April? It is April. Crazy. Let's get into reviewing some books, shall we? Let's start with a new Freida McFadden. So this is Want to Know a Secret by Freida McFadden. I seen this come out and of course I had to get the Works edition. Beautiful sprayed edge. However, I was a bit confused because I was like, a cake? It's not giving cake vibes. However, once you read it, you understand. So this one follows an influencer called April. She does YouTube videos just like me. However, she is a baker. So yeah, she does YouTube videos based on baking and she lives in like this little town, and it starts off with her son going missing. That's better. It's a bit comfier to sit down. Also, I got new shelves, guys. So I actually have a lot more free room to buy more books. So yeah, if you want a shelf tour, then let me know and I can do that for you and show you what books I have. But yeah, back to Freida McFadden. So yeah, April is filming a YouTube video doing baking. She tells her son to play in the garden and kind of stay out of her way. And then she receives a text saying your son isn't where you think he is or something. So she runs out in the back garden and he is gone. He is missing. And that is how it starts. It's kind of about crazy neighbours. I don't know, like trying to fit into small town vibes and trying to make friends and things like that. I don't want to give too much away because, as you know, Freida McFadden is all about the plot twists, and this one definitely didn't disappoint. I rated this 3.5 stars. I liked it. Wasn't my favourite Freida McFadden, however, you gotta love a plot twist, haven't you? So I would recommend any Freida McFadden book at the end of the day. Loved it. Okay, and now we're gonna go to a new release that came out in the month of March. In Her Own League by Liz Tomfordy. Guys, so this one follows on from the Windy City series. It's not a part of the series, it is like a spin-off. However, it's got a lot of the same characters in it. You guys know I absolutely love the Windy City series, and I don't know if I was worried that this wasn't going to live up to the hype that the Windy Cities had. However, it was just as good. And what also concerned me about this one was that it was about older characters. And when I say older, I mean like, I think they were in their 40s. I want to say, I could be completely wrong with that. If you've read the Windy City series, it follows Monty. This one follows Monty, who is the baseball coach. So he runs the baseball team. And the female main character is Reese, and she has taken over the management of the baseball team. So I really liked this because it was a lot to do with sort of women empowerment, I would say, because Reese takes over as the manager of the baseball team. However, she is the first female manager of a baseball team, and she gets quite a lot of criticism, and everything she does gets judged, of what she's wearing and how she reacts, and any little change that she makes to the team, they're like, oh, it's because she's a woman, she doesn't know what she's talking about, kind of vibes. And so Reese and Monty kind of like fight everyone, well, not literally fight everyone, but by saying, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I don't know what I mean, like what I'm talking about. And I loved that. I really loved that. And I loved how Monty reacted with Reese and just their dynamic. I thought they were really, really cute. And if you love the Windy City series, you're going to enjoy this. 5 stars. Let's go for a fantasy, shall we? I picked up Stolen Midnights by Catherine Quinn. I knew nothing about this book. I seen it on Waterstones. You guys know I am a sucker for a special edition. I seen this and I was like, yeah, sold. Absolutely sold. Knew nothing about it. I don't really read the description of books, which is probably quite bad of me, but I love going in and just being surprised. And this is exactly one of those books that I loved for doing that, because I had no idea and I started reading it and I was hooked. This one kind of reminded me of like Bridgerton meets fantasy. I don't know if I'm too high up now. Okay. It's a lot of moving around. Did you know it's been a while, guys, okay? You have to give me some grace. It's been a while since we've done this together. So, yeah. I loved this. Bridgerton meets fantasy. It was giving like high society, balls, like courting, literally Bridgerton meets fantasy. And if you're trying to get into fantasy or you're not like a massive fantasy person, I think this would be a good book for you, because it is fantasy. It mentions the 3 fates. They run everything. On their 18th birthday, they give out, mostly to the rich people, a gift. So it is an item that gives them magic, basically. So they don't actually own magic. The magic comes from the gift from the fates, if that makes sense. So like some people have necklaces, rings, hats, I think was one of them. So yeah, it's not crazy fantasy. And even like the magic, it wasn't anything crazy. Like one person could turn invisible, or one person I think had a ring, and whatever they touched, so whether that was like a drink or a plate, whatever they wanted, like whatever they pictured in their mind showed up. Like how cool would that be? Like you just pick up a plate and you could just have whatever meal like you wanted, it just pops in front of you. Can you imagine? I don't know. I loved this and I actually can't wait for the next one. And I feel like it's one of those books that hasn't ever really been talked about. I've not heard anyone talk about it, but I loved it. So I definitely recommend. 5 stars. Okay, the next book that I read was Darling Daffodils Farm by Brittany Nicole, I want to say. So again, I had no idea what this book was about, but it gave me spring vibes. This is the copy that I got from the works, but I just like loved the cover. And I don't usually like covers with like people on the front of it, but you can't see their faces. I didn't think it was that bad. And I just thought it looked really cute. So I picked it up. I thought this is the perfect book to read for spring, and it didn't disappoint. It was a cute spring romance, which was perfect for this time of year. So this follows the female main character, who is Tally, and her parents own a daffodil farm. Well, it's not a daffodil farm. Well, it says daffodils farm, but it's like a flower farm. They've got all different types of flowers, and Tally's dad passes away. He was mainly the one that was running the farm. He passes away, and Tally's sister contacts her and says, is there any chance that you could sort of move home and help out with the farm, because we're all struggling with grieving and things, so can you come home? So Tally comes home. The start is actually really funny because she comes home to her hometown. It's like a little small town vibe, and she kind of stops off at some stores before she goes to her house, and everyone's saying, say hi to Jessie for me. And she's like, who on earth is Jessie? Like, not a clue who that is. Anyway, she finally gets home. She runs up the stairs because she can hear someone upstairs who she thinks is her mum. She runs upstairs, bursts into her old like childhood bedroom, and there's a naked man there. who is Jessie, and she's like, who on earth are you? It's Jessie. So Tally's dad hired Jessie to help him run the farm about a year ago, I want to say. So he has been helping with the farm. He has moved into the family house, into her old childhood bedroom, nonetheless. And Tally's mum has moved out to another like house on the property. It's like a little cottage on the property. So basically Tally and Jessie are living in the same house together. It's very much grumpy ex Sunshine vibes. He hardly even talks, to be honest with you, but obviously she drags out of him. And yeah, if you like sort of that grumpy Sunshine trope, then I think you'll love this, because yeah, it's like that. He doesn't talk to anyone, but he talks to me kind of vibe. So cute. Okay, the next book that I read was The Lies That Summon the Night. So I didn't really fancy reading this book. I don't know what it is. I just, based on the cover, well, I bought it because it was a special edition. However, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't like it. So this is the front cover, which I feel like, I don't know, I just wasn't drawn to it. And then the special edition sprayed edge, I was like, what is that? I don't know. Is that me just being too picky? Like, I think I'm too used to like beautiful sprayed edges now that I'm like, this just doesn't cut it for me, guys. Don't come for me. But I picked this up not expecting a lot from it, but I thought it's only a small, well, that's quite a small book for fantasy, so I was like, let's give it a go. I enjoyed it. This is the definition of don't judge a book by its cover, because I enjoyed it. So this one follows, you know I'm not any good with names, I think it's Inanna? You know I've completely butchered that. And this is kind of a crazy world. And if I'm honest with you, I was a bit confused because on the front it shows a wharf. So I was kind of expecting something along the lines of like Direbound, the Wharf King, something like that. However, this was kind of about vampires. So make that make sense, I don't know. So if you're looking for sort of a vampire book, but you're kind of sick of everything that's been done before, I'd recommend giving this one a go, because this is very different kind of vampire vibes. It's not your stereotypical kind of thing. They actually don't even call them vampires. They are called, let me go to my summary. I love it when the front of the books have summary. Although when I first seen this, I thought, oh my god, because usually when I see a summary, I'm like, oh, this the world building's going to be too much for me. But it actually wasn't too bad, guys. So the vampires are called the Sinless, and then you have Shadowbane. This is where I started getting a bit confused, because the Sinless are the vampires. Shadowbane are like, they're not they're like half vampires, if that makes sense. They're not fully vampires. Their appetite isn't as strong as vampire. Well, they're not vampires, you know what I mean. They're called the Sinless. And then you've got the Shade, which is like monsters kind of vibe. And they say that the Shade, like the monsters that are called the Shade, are born from human sin. So in this world, it is a sin to do any kind of art. So like singing or like drawing, painting, storytelling is even a sin in this world. So anyone who is kind of like artistic, they're kind of banned from the world, and they get punished if they do these things, because they believe that doing these things causes the shades. Inanna is a storyteller, so she is doing illegal stuff basically. Crazy, I know, she's telling stories, which is illegal. And Dominic comes to where Inanna works and basically not kidnaps her, but says, if you come and work for me, I will get you out of this country and into like a safer place. She hasn't really got much of a choice, to be honest. So she joins him. He's got like a team they are all singers as such. So she's a storyteller, someone was a guitar player or like ukulele or something, and another girl was a painter. So they're all like traveling together, and their job is basically to defeat the shades. And if they are able to defeat the shades, Dominic is then shows his worth to become like a full vampire. That might sound really confusing, however I really enjoyed it. So if you're into vampires or you're looking for some sort of different kind of vampire story, definitely would recommend this one. I gave this one 4 stars, so it was good. Okay, another book that came out this month that I was so excited to read, The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. You know, Abby Jimenez she's the one. She's just the one. Like, she just knows what she's doing. So I know a lot of people didn't like this book, and if I'm honest, I can kind of understand where they are coming from. Gotta sit down again, guys. Okay, that's better. How many times can Emily move the camera in one video? Who knows? So yeah, I can kind of understand why a lot of people didn't like this book or just didn't get on with it, only because the male main character, who is Chris, I guess you could consider him as kind of a side character, even though he's the main character, if that makes sense. Like, it's a bit of an awkward storyline. So basically, this follows the female main character, who is Larissa. Larissa goes to a concert and gets a lift home from the concert. She has 2 options. She can either go with Chris or she can go with Mike. She doesn't know either of them, but they offer her a ride home. They're both going that way, so she can choose between Chris and Mike. She chooses Mike, and then she ends up going out with Mike after him driving her home. However, the male main character is Chris. So Chris is Mike's best friend. So basically, Mike got the girl, but Chris wanted the girl. So yeah, it's a bit of an awkward one because Larissa is dating Mike. Mike, however, has got major issues within this book, and I don't know, like, you can obviously tell that he's got things going on in his life that he's really struggling with. However, I didn't really think too much into it, whereas I feel like a lot of people didn't like the fact that he had a lot going on and his best friend comes in and kind of steals his girl, which I get, like, I get it. However, I just didn't look that far into it. I just enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed it. However, I think Abby Jimenez is bringing out another book, I believe, and it's going to be in Mike's point of view, Mike's story, which I think would be really nice because, like I said, he does really struggle in this book. He's got a lot of issues going on, so it'd be nice to see him sort of get his happily ever after and sort of like sort his life out, because that was quite sad. However, Chris is just an angel, and I know that people are slating him because he stole his best friend's girlfriend. I get it, but she was meant to go out with Chris the whole time. Like, they're soulmates, you know. You can't help that kind of thing, and it's fictional, guys. We just need to calm down a little bit, okay? I loved it. 5 stars as always. Okay, let's go on to a fantasy series. So I read the A Touch of Darkness series. I don't know if that's what it's called. So it starts with A Touch of Darkness. I didn't know what to expect from this. I actually bought this almost a year ago and it's been on my shelf ever since, and I am making it a mission this year to try and get through all the books on my shelf, because if you are a book girly or a book guy, you know that it's just so exciting buying new books, but we don't have time to read them all. Like, when are we finding this time? Like, my TBR list, I'm not going to fit all that in before I die, which sounds really morbid, but you get what I mean. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Because new books are coming out as well, so the list just gets longer and longer. You get it. If you're a book person, you get it. And if you're not a book person, don't really know why you're watching this video, but I appreciate you nonetheless. So, A Touch of Darkness. So this is a fantasy, although if I'm honest with you, it's like a dark romance mixed with a fantasy book. It follows a lot of the Greek, well, it follows all of the Greek gods. I I think. I'm not really, I don't really know too much about the Greek gods. However, this specifically follows Hades and Persephone. So Hades is like the king, is it the king of the underworld? The god of the underworld? Oh, you know what I'm on about. He is in charge of the underworld. But although the underworld exists, he also lives like in the real world, and he owns a like nightclub. He is kind of like a mafia boss. Oh, it's just so like, what a good idea. I loved it. So yeah, he's kind of like, people are scared of him. He's like a mafia boss kind of vibes. He's very rich, like all the gods are very rich. And yeah, he owns this nightclub. Persephone is another god, however no one knows she's a god. She's kind of been kept hidden by her mum. She is basically living like a human life, and she hides the fact that she is a god, so no one knows. And she goes to Hades nightclub, and she ends up talking to Hades, but she doesn't know she's talking to Hades, and they end up making a bargain that she wasn't even aware that she was making. I think the bargain was like for 6 months, and she had to go to the underworld and try and make something grow. So yeah, Hades and Persephone end up kind of falling in love, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I loved the fact that it was based on the Greek gods, although I didn't know much about the Greek gods. However, if you are into the Greek gods, I'd imagine you'd really like this series because it's kind of like a nice aspect to have. I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars. It then goes on to A Touch of Ruin, and I was excited to read this because obviously the story follows on. So all of these books are about the same characters, Hades and Persephone, which I loved because usually books kind of follow on from different characters, so I loved the fact that it was the same characters all the way through the series. And I don't want to give too much away, but again, yeah, it follows their relationship, sort of turbulent vibes throughout their relationship. I didn't enjoy this one as much as the first one, so I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I still did enjoy it, it just didn't grip me as much as the first one did. And then I went on to A Touch of Malice. This is where I lost interest. I don't know, there were some parts of this I really enjoyed. However, I just kind of, I don't know if I was just bored of the storyline by this point, because how much can you really put into just 2 characters in a turbulent relationship kind of vibes? I don't know. I don't really know why this one didn't grip me as much as the other ones. I rated this one 3 stars, and when I finished this one, I just didn't want to go on to the well, I don't know how many books are in the series. I mean, I bought a book set and it had 4 in it, but I don't know if there's actually more than that, because I also know that these books, there's also books based on Hades' point of view. So all of these books that I've showed you are written in Persephone's point of view. So I know that there's also a set of books wrote in Hades' point of view, which I think you can, what's the word? Can't think what the word is, where you can like read both of them at the same time. They follow like the same scenes and things, but in, obviously these are in Persephone's point of view, those are in Hades' point of view, so you can kind of like dual read them at the same time. I didn't personally do that. Like I said, by the time I got to this book, I was getting a bit bored. I rated this one 3 stars, and the last one I got in the series is A Touch of Chaos, and I just haven't got round to reading it, guys. I don't know, I feel like because I was quite bored reading this one, I just didn't feel the need to go on to the last one. However, please let me know if you have read this series and if you think I should read the last one, because I have it, I don't know if I want to read it. I'm not sure. But yeah, if you like the Greek gods, I'd imagine that you really like this series. And like I said, I really enjoyed the first one. And just because I sort of like sloped off during the books, doesn't mean that you will. So yeah, if it sounds interesting to you, I'd definitely give it a go. But yeah, if you have given it a go and you liked the 4th book, or you think that I need to read the 4th book, then let me know and I will do that for you. So yeah, a good series. Not my favourite out of all the series I've ever read, but I still enjoyed it. Okay, the next book. I feel like I've read loads. I feel like I've been talking for ages. Okay, the next book is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. Am I saying that right? Probably not. I love the cover on this book. It just looks stunning. Again, this is another one that has been on my shelf for almost a year, and I just haven't got around to it. Although I seen someone recently post a YouTube short saying that this was a good book to read in the spring. So I thought, it's springtime, let's do it. And I enjoyed it. It was, again, it's not the best romance book I've ever read in my whole life. I gave it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. This basically follows the female main character, who is Eve, and she has a one-night stand before the book even starts. Actually, she just mentions that she had a one-night stand, and she ends up getting pregnant from this one-night stand. Ethan is the father of the child. He works in a bar, so he was literally bartending, and they ended up getting along. They ended up having a one-night stand. She ended up pregnant, so she has to go and tell Ethan that she's pregnant. When she goes to tell Ethan, she's kind of expecting that he's going to be like, okay, like, let's get in a relationship and have a baby together, and he doesn't say that. He actually ends up saying that he has a girlfriend that he loves. So she's having a hard time. Like, she's having a hard time. However, her best friend, Willa, I want to say her name is Willa, I'm probably butchering that name as well. Her brother, Shep, is also, like, they're all friends. And Shep really stands up and is there for Eve. I still really enjoyed this. I rated it 3.5 stars. Okay, the next book that I read is another Freida McFadden, and it is Dear Debbie. Again, I picked this up when it came out because the works just do the best sprayed edges. I'm obsessed. And I love, like, thriller books, especially because they're so thin and such, like, quick pace. I find these the perfect sort of filler books, where if I don't fancy a romance or I don't fancy a fantasy, this just kind of like cleanses the palette, if you know what I mean. And this book definitely did not disappoint. I loved this book so much. This book follows our female main character, who is Debbie. Debbie is a mum of 2 girls, and she's also got a husband, and she basically writes a column for a newspaper, her local newspaper I think it is, and it's like an agony aunt kind of thing. So they write in and they're like, "Dear Debbie, I've got this problem, what would you suggest?" And she replies back to them. Debbie is crazy, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. She is mad. She basically will do anything for her family. And when I say anything, I mean anything. If you're looking for a ride or die, Debbie is your woman, you know? So yeah, I don't want to give too much away. But the basic storyline is that things happen to her husband and her kids, and she's like, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not having it. And she kind of goes out of her way to sort people out, basically. I thought it was great. There's something about crazy characters that I absolutely love. So I loved this one, and then I also loved The Surrogate Mother. The Surrogate Mother, guys, she just writes the best characters, in my opinion. I just absolutely loved it. And again, that if you like The Surrogate Mother, I imagine you'd like this, because again, unbelievable. Again, I'm not going to give too much away because the plot twist, but 5 stars, and it deserves it. It definitely deserves it. Okay, the last 2 books that I read this month: The First Time Caller and Now Back to You. So I'm actually really late to the party with this, because I know that this one came, I think this one came out last year, and I know that everyone loved it. However, I don't know, I just didn't get around to it. But I don't know how I managed to get my hands on this, because like I said, this came out a long time ago, but I seen the sprayed edge in the works and I was obsessed. And then this one recently came out, and it's the matching sprayed edge, and I was like, that is right up my street. You know, I love a sprayed edge. So let's start with First Time Caller. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It gave me all the feels. I just loved it. Perfect romance book, in my opinion. So basically, this follows the female main character, who is Lucy, and the male main character, who is Aidan. And Aidan basically runs a radio station, and he is basically, again, a bit like a agony aunt kind of thing. People call in asking questions about relationships and love and things, and he gives advice. So Lucy's daughter, who I think is like 12 or something like that, calls up Aidan. So Aidan is on the radio late at night, and Lucy's daughter calls Aidan on the radio late at night. Lucy overhears her daughter on the phone, and she's like, oh my god, who is she talking to this late at night? And she goes into her room and she's like, why are you talking to boys? Like, it's like 10 o'clock at night. And she's like, whoa, this isn't what you think. Like, and Lucy ends up taking the phone off of her daughter and is like, how dare you talk to my daughter? She's only like 12. And Aidan's like, whoa, this is not what it looks like, but you are live on the radio. And she's like, what on earth is going on? So yeah, Lucy's daughter calls in because she wants her mum to find someone. She thinks that her mum is lonely and she thinks that Aidan can help her. So Lucy ends up staying on the phone with Aidan for a long time on the radio, and that clip ends up going viral. And so everyone is rooting for Lucy to find someone. So the manager of the radio show calls Lucy and is like, is there any chance you'd be interested in coming on the radio with us like a few nights a week, and we'll do like a looking for love kind of segment of trying to find you love, where people can call in and like take you on dates and stuff. And she ends up doing it. However, she obviously falls for Aidan, doesn't she? And Aidan falls for her, vice versa. I loved it. This was all the feels. I just absolutely loved every second of this book. 5 stars. 5 stars. And then the last book that I read this month was And Now Back to You. So this one kind of follows on from First Time Caller. This one follows Delilah and Jackson. So Jackson also works in the radio station with Aidan, and he actually comes up a lot in the first book. So I love the fact that you kind of get his story now. And Delilah works across the street from the radio station at the like TV news station. So he works on radio, she works on TV, and they are both basically weather reporters. So he obviously works on the radio, she works on TV, and both of their managers come together and says that they kind of want to team up so that they can boost their ratings. So Delilah joins Jackson on the radio and Jackson joins Delilah on the TV. However, Jackson is so petrified of not only being on TV, of being on radio as well. So I actually don't know how he managed to get that job, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so this kind of follows them. They are in the area where they are due a snowstorm. So their managers both say, can you go to the place where the snowstorm is going to be the worst, which is kind of like in the middle of nowhere. So they end up staying in a hotel in the middle of nowhere, reporting on how bad this storm's going to be. But obviously they're together for, I think it's like 2 weeks or a week or something, documenting this storm, and things happen and it's kind of like forced proximity vibes. I just loved it. But Jackson, even in the first book, First Time Caller, you hear about how much Jackson hates Delilah. So it's kind of like enemies to lovers vibes. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as First Time Caller. I gave it 3.5 stars. So I didn't enjoy it as much. However, it was still cute. It was a cute romance. So yeah. Okay, so that is all the books that I read in the month of March. I felt like I had a good month. I feel like I had a really good month, and like I said, because I had my operation, I feel like I couldn't really do much other than read. So, you know, it's a hard life, but someone's got to live it. Let me know in the comments what books that you read in March, and should I give them a go, basically. And if you've read any of the books that I have read, then also let me know what you thought of them and whether your opinions are similar to mine or whether you hated them or loved them, and let me know your thoughts, basically. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for making it to the end. You guys mean the world to me, as I always say, but you actually really do. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy anything bookish, then please subscribe and join the family, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.